How's it going, everybody? All right, let's get the stream over here. We get all set up. Actually, we'll move this over here. How's it going, guys? So we're gonna be working on today. Probably streaming for about an hour to two tops. Looking to get this wrapped up by then. This here is a birthday present for my niece of two of her characters. She's really talented, and I'll be posting a little bit more about this stuff as her comic goes up and stuff like that. But these are two of her characters here. I did the all the way to the artwork this morning, and we just got the flats all wrapped up. So now it's time to do the fun stuff. At least I consider it fun just because like we'll get to a finish pretty quick. You know, it's not going to be too labor intensive. We're gonna add some shadows, all that good stuff. So first and foremost, let's get it all set up here. I'm gonna turn all this debris off here just so I can see it super clean. Let me just grab all this here. And we'll put that into a background folder. I'm thinking, yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna turn off all the extra stuff. Just so we get the, you know, the main shadow, or the main character is all we need. Ben, how's it going? Keeman, how you guys? How you guys doing? Okay, so let's go ahead and make a brand new layer here. And just so I don't forget it, shadow. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to use like a really nasty, maybe we use like a nice bright green. So I'm trying to pick a color here. Actually, red might be kind of fun to look at for a little while. I'm trying to pick a fun color because we're going to be stuck in shading land for a little while now. And that is this guy. Okay, so we'll do this guy first here. Yakuza, how's it going? Bitey, how's it going with the iPad Pro? Doing great stuff, Ben, back on the PC. Oh, yeah, so, like, I'm never gonna, well, I don't want to say never, because you never know, right? But, yeah, you know, like, the PC is, I get more tools and flexibility on here, so I don't think that'll ever go away. But in regards to the iPad Pro, I actually did a little bit of the inking on this, on there on my couch. Not too much, but the majority of the inking was done on computer, but all up in here, this hand and stuff, this was all done, and even some of this hair and these horns, the tail, all this stuff was done on the iPad Pro. One thing that I've noticed that I'll have to keep in mind is that I don't get as much, I don't want to say as much control, but I get a lot more jaggy lines. Like you'll see my hand shake and stuff like that in certain areas. So what I'm going to have to start doing is, and what I did for this one, is just turning the stability way up. Like right now when I ink on the Cintiq here, I don't have any stability at all. Or wait, maybe there's like a 2? Yeah, there's 2. Normally it's a 0. 0 or 2, I don't really notice the difference, but just to get that out. But all in all, I mean, it's still good. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I said last time, I'm going to need some more practice. So I'm trying to sneak in opportunities to sort of use it. Because there's also like workflow things that I'm trying to understand. I reached out to Will because I couldn't understand how to get Clip Studio Paint's files off of the iPad. Off the iPad. I'm just hitting puberty every now and then. And found out how to do that, so that was good. So I could just go back and forth. But again, I'm not sure. Like I don't go out that often where I need to be able to go and draw. But having the ability to do so is pretty good. So I just wanted to, like, every now and then possibly sprinkle some of that workflow in there. Because like right now I don't really need it, but sometimes I notice, especially during the work week, when things get super just like, ugh, you know, busy and been working on computers all day. The last thing I want to do is come home and work on a computer. But you have to, or at least I have to. So because of that, This might work out a little bit if I keep up with it. It's, you know, it's not a computer, but it's a monitor screen, right, on the iPad. But it feels different being on a computer. So is that sorry for all the questions irrelevant to illustrators, but do you ever use Grayscale for making values and adding a color? Hey, buddy, no, go ahead. Ask ask as many questions as you want. I don't normally work in Grayscale, but I do like to have something on where I can, like a black layer that I can toggle on or off. A coworker of mine, he showed me how you can do it with a quick setting in Photoshop, where it just turns it black and white without making a layer and stuff. I do enjoy using that from time to time. It's actually pretty important to make sure all your values and stuff, you know, everything's hitting the marks. But for something like this, the flats were already provided to me. April already did a lot of those, so I didn't want to deviate from them. I wanted to kind of give her what she's expecting, but then this layer here is kind of where I can play around a little bit more. In this workflow that I'm working in right now, it's pretty simple. So the values are still important. The values are always important, but not so much with where I'll be going with it. And you'll see, like right now, where this is going to go is it's super simple. It's almost just like the Jessup stuff, right? The flats are already done, right? Now the color flats, I might have done those a little bit different, but again, these aren't my characters, so there's usually people have a reason for the colors they pick, you know. So those are already done. But what I get to do is sort of play around a little bit more with some of the value, not the value, but the color of the shadow and stuff like that. So we'll be able to play with that as we go. Elijah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oops. So we're gonna wrap this up, and I think I'm gonna toss out some Dragon Ball Z, some fighters, play that game. Anybody here playing that fighter at all? Actually, let's do it this way first. Thanks, Kyle. Jan, how's it going? For how much would you sell comic book issues if you sold them independently? Do you mean like my own comics, like a Jessup King? How much would I sell that? Kyle, I'm playing Fighters in the Daily. Yeah, you gotta get good. My brother and I were really looking forward to that Broly DLC, man. kind of staying away from the face because there's a lot of hair going on here. It's going to be complicated. Uh, Actually, let me just rotate it here so you guys can see these a little bit easier. This is the way I've been drawing it. It's a little easier to see like a character, you know, facing the other one. So I just have to remember light source is coming from the right here, so don't get confused here. Ben got smashed in Dragon Ball? Yeah, I believe it, man. Game's punishing. My brother and I said it a whole bunch already, but my brother and I, we were already ready to like, or maybe not my brother, but I was super salty. I was just like, I'm ready to sell this thing. Waited a couple days, let the salt simmer down. Watched some videos, saw what I was doing wrong. At least if I could understand what I was doing wrong, you know? And then once I realized what I was doing wrong, the game slowed down, and that's what I needed. The game moves super quick. Um, I'm still not very good at it, but at least I could understand what I was doing wrong. That way I know what's my fault, you know? As opposed to just not good at the game. Yeah, I haven't tried too much of the single player. Yes, like what would be the price that would satisfy you and make you take the risk of doing more art? That's a tricky question, man. So I gotta build up to my answer because I gotta sort of talk it out because I'm not quite sure. Uh, the game of comics is a super scary and a very saturated field. Everybody's got a story to tell. There's tons and tons of comics already out there. And I think most most people that read comics, or maybe not most, maybe just the circles I'm kind of in, read superhero stuff, right? And they're used to Marvel DC prices. I find it very difficult to try to compete with those prices. And those prices, I think, are anywhere from, and it's been a while, but like $3 to $6, right? No, it's about 3 to 5. It's about $5 for a new comic, right? So I would always say, like, for a 22, 24 page book, that's about the price you're looking at. Now, whether or not you'll make a profit on that, that's a whole other thing. Um, Making comics for profit, I think, it's a game you'll forever chase, and very few get there. So I don't want to discourage you and sound like I'm trying to get you to not do that. But I don't think it's very rare to make your own comic book and have it be something so popular that you can make a living off of it. Let alone I don't know, because to answer your question, really, right? Like you got to be making this stuff, even if nobody's buying it. Because when people do buy it, usually like it's not enough money that's gonna make you quit your day job. That's very rare. Not that it's not possible. If it's possible, then you're busy making comics, and you're not really talking to me right now. You got way too many deadlines. If you want to be making that kind of money in comics, all you have to do is comics. You don't have time to fart around doing other things. But I don't know. Like I don't sell any of my comics right now, but I would probably be around $5 to be honest with you. Now, if it's just digital only, that I'm not sure about. That one I actually don't have a very good answer on. Whoops. I don't know. What do you guys think? Goddamn aerial combos. Yeah, okay. What Ben's talking about, I think, is the better way of doing it. So like, I'm a big believer in the comic being the vehicle for people to find you and what you do. Merchandise is and probably always will be the number one moneymaker. Even in comic books, man. I This was back in 2000 and oh, shit, 13 maybe around there when I first heard this. So it's got to be around the same. I can't imagine it's changed too much. I mean, Disney just bought Marvel, so the records are pretty much close to it. But the thing I was reading, it was like for Marvel Comics, it was around 20% of their revenue was from the actual comic books themselves. The rest of their money is from um, T-shirts, bed sheets, lunch boxes, action figures, movies. Right? I mean, movies are a little bit different now because we're talking billions of bucks, but they still cost a lot to make. So all that to say, it's very hard to make money off of a comic book. Uh, Use that comic book to get people interested in you, and you don't have to make T-shirts and stuff necessarily, right? But you can totally make prints, and you can sell your comics as well, make some cash off that. But like big money drivers, things that we're talking about, you can quit your day job off of. You need people buying commissions from you, right? Because think about it, if you use your comic to get people to know who you are, just based off publicity or whatever, like if you're lucky enough to break through that, and people come to you for commissions, even if you're charging $50 a commission, let's say you're getting like 10 a month, that's still not that much, but it's not that far to think you can get $100 a commission and more, right? And if you get a couple of those, you still probably can't quit your job, but that's just one outlet, right? Like, and people are buying it from you based off what they've seen from you. You know what I'm saying? So I would think of it more in that way. Hey John, if you made a comic that you were certain was going to remain web only, would you format it to be phone friendly or stick with the traditional format that you did with Jessup? Uh, that's a good question too. Whew. So the problem that I have, I guess, and this can go both ways. The problem I have with that is if I do it just like for the phone, right, like the webtoons kind of style. If we ever wanted to go to print, you got to go back and somehow it's not the same. Like you can't just cut that shit back up and make it into like a comic page, right? Like the read is different. Trying to get people to turn the page isn't the same as swiping down on a phone, right? So it is different. I will say this: yes, I'm interested in one day, someday, maybe, who knows, making a comic specifically for the web, like as in a phone. Yes, I'm definitely interested in trying something like that before I die. But I would think of it as that. I wouldn't worry about it ever seeing print. Like Jessup, I did again. For those that aren't familiar, my Jessup King webcomic that I was doing, that was primarily to send to editors who were doing comic books like Marvel DC stuff, right? So I was trying to still keep it within that format that I guess is sort of standard in publishing. But I believe anyway, a lot of web comics nowadays, it's like the phone or or lightning. You know, either you strike lightning and you do it the old school way, like how I was doing, or you have a big following. It's gonna read your stuff no matter what you do. Right? Those are my beliefs there. I've been saying being able to make an IP big enough to sell for royalties helps. Oh yeah, if we're in that world, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing. That's a great place to be. Worrying about royalties. So anyway, I hope that didn't sound too disheartening. So I'm gonna throw a little, at least my perspective of reality in there, at least like what I've seen. Like here's an example for you for those that wanted just a little slice of reality. In case you guys need that every now and then, is download the tune, or actually you can just go online. Hey Dennis, how's it going? Just go on to the Webtoons website and even Tapastic, and just quickly scroll. See how many comics are there. That's just one place, and those aren't even like adult comics, which make a lot of money. Those aren't anything like that. Those are just, most of them are just hobby people like myself and other people that want to, get a job doing comics and or just doing it for fun. All of those people would like to make money off what they're doing. That's just one app, right? Let alone all the people that still prefer to do the traditional route, the 11 by 17 size, trying to sell it by paper. It's I believe that if money is the goal, don't I don't want to say don't go into comics, but don't look to make a comic that's going to bring in a shitload of cash. Worry about that once you like some people. I hear this a lot from people wondering like what is it that they're not doing, like what's the secret sauce, and this is coming from a guy that hasn't had massive success in selling comics, right? I haven't done that at all. So take that with a grain of salt, but I do think that if you're asking the question, how do I or what am I doing wrong to make my comic book sell more? That's the problem right there. Because comics is like anything else with art. Lightning in a bottle aside, art takes time to be appreciated. Most of the people you follow artist wise, you probably didn't even know about them, but they've been doing work for like 10 to 20 years before you even found out, or more. Like Joe Madureira, a guy I talk about all the time. I didn't even know he was doing X-Men comics, and he was very popular for that. But it took one project called Battle Chasers till I found out about him, and just looking at his art at the time changed my life. But that guy was doing X-Men in huge books, but I just wasn't interested, right? So it's crazy. You got to be in this for the long, 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 long haul. The thing you're doing right now that you want to make money on, that's great. I hope you do. I hope you make a whole bunch of cash and it can become your gig. I really do. But the real side of me just says this is just one other thing that you're going to do. And you have to keep making more comics and making more commissions and art and prints. And you never know what opportunities open other opportunities, but putting all your eggs in one basket in comics, in my opinion, is a pretty foolhardy thing. And I've had experience of people that have never made a comic book in their life say that they know a lot about comics or whatever, and they're going to do it, and they put it in there, and they put a lot of money and time and stress and effort, and nothing comes from it, and they still think it's reasons of like other people, like, well, it's because people don't see my stuff, they don't know how good it is, or this certain editor didn't do that, and all that. That's I'm sure maybe some of that's true, but a lot of it is okay. That's great. So what's the next thing you're doing? Don't just stop, right? This is a long-term thing. It should be. If it's not, then what are you doing? Like I'd recommend if money was the drive, just become like a print artist. Just do prints or go into a different field like video games or movies or something like that. You get all kinds of money in there. They throw money at you to watch YouTube and you don't even know it. And you don't got to go to school for any of this stuff too. So that's good too. Hey, April, how's it going? Hope you're digging the commission. It's a birthday gift. It's not a commission, right? Bitey, cool. What I'm doing, never see print, lean towards the phone format. Right on, man. Ben, do you bend? Do you bend comic ideas towards a particular demographic, or just draw what you personally would want to read? Somewhere in between. I think it's somewhere in between. Like Jessup was something for publishers, I thought, um, but that wasn't really, again, using my own advice. Like I just said, it's a time thing. So even though I showed a bunch of editors that stuff, that's great. But really, people might not see that until like 5 or 10 years from now, and then they go, oh, I saw that thing that you did or whatever, blah blah blah. So the next thing I'm doing here, there should be a video coming up shortly for those interested. I recorded the inking. I'll bring it up here. This is the power pickle thing we were doing. So I'm just changing sort of the flow there. It's just small little sample kind of things for a kind of gag sort of jokey style superhero villain comic. just trying that out. You know, I've had a couple of scripts come my way. Actually, this is fun, and I'm not saying this to talk smack or to gloat or anything, but I had a few offers come on my table for people looking for me to do some artwork for them and stuff for a comic book, and it was great. But I just wasn't jiving with the material. It just wasn't. I don't know. If I was freelancing 100%, then like I would take it, but that's only because, you know, I need the money if I was doing freelancing, right? But I have a job, so I get to be a little bit more picky with what I'm doing, and just the stuff I'm seeing, I'm just like, it's not hitting the marks that I would like to do. So that's sort of where like the power pickle stuff is coming in, where it's like I can kind of, I'm not saying it's gonna be great, but I at least get to control the content that I'm drawing, if that makes sense, you know. More of a request. Yeah, it's a good way of saying it. Here's the let me open the power pickle here, just so you guys can see it. There's a video that'll be coming up. I think it's on. Yeah, it should be Monday for the box office artist. His channel. You guys check it out there. And then at the end of the week, I'll upload it for everybody else here on YouTube. Just where is it here? Personal. Just the inking of this. We finished it up. And I decided to go back to the rendering as well, with some encouragement from some friends, and I guess the direction where I would like to go going forward, where it's like I feel like adding a little bit of the rendering might add a little level of professionalism, or at least the illusion, more so than what I'm normally doing. I don't know. So we wrap this up. This comic, again, it won't be color at all. It'll just be black and white. I might do some tone work, maybe. I don't know. And I imagine it won't get a lot of success online, only because it's not color. It's not like a polished thing. It's going to look very... Artists kind of know what the hell this is. General comic book reading people probably prefer like a more polished, finished kind of look. You know, like either Jessup has the illusion of being more polished than it is. But even what I'm doing right here, where this has the color in it, where people kind of think that's more polished there. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong. There's color in it, right? Color makes everything better. Thanks for the money advice. Gotta go. Hey, no problem, buddy. Have a good sleep. Thanks for popping in. This has actually been a lot of fun to do, April. The characters you drew here, they're not characters I would have come up with, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a style thing. There's something about when people are younger, the innocence they have in their character design. It's like they just jam a whole bunch of things they think's really cool together. And the older you get, and this is it can be not shameful, but it is a shame of like the older you get and the more you stick with art, generally people start going down the, you know, all right, well, if I want to get better at anatomy and stuff, I'm going to start reading some books, and, you know, tutorials and all that is what we all look to, and then eventually we get to like the Loomises and all these stuff, right? But you start learning the rules, in air quotes here, the rules of art, and there's definitely some rules that are very good, but sometimes what happens is once we start falling down the rules path, a lot of the creativity kind of gets thrown away. So an example could be, I'm not saying this is something that people wouldn't think of, but this character's arm I thought was really cool. It's like, it looks like they're like dislocated, like cut in half right here, and it's kind of like they float out in front, right? But usually with arms and stuff, I wouldn't say like I never would have, but like my mind wouldn't go there for something like that. It would go more in terms of like practicality and like where does that fall with proper anatomy and shape and form and stuff, right? Where a lot of this stuff I feel, and that's like where the creative spark comes in, is like you're not asking those questions anymore. You're just asking like what's cool. And the older you get and the more rules you follow, or the more rules you're aware of, and you're not breaking them as much. You just start going like, your creativity starts plunging from there. So anyway, it's really fun to do this because I don't get to draw a lot of this kind of stuff that often. Thanks, buddy. So I'm looking at this, then at the drawings I sent you. Why not? Trust me. In time. In time. How does Thanos do it? Thanos says something. Speaking of Thanos, what do you guys think of the new trailer, the Avengers trailer? Holy shit. I thought it was amazing. Anyway, what I was going to say there, don't worry about it. April. It's like, if you stick with that, you stick with it. If not, you don't. It's all good as long as it's still fun. But you'll get better. If not, imagine that. Imagine the older you get and the longer you keep drawing, you don't get better. Oh, that sucks. Thankfully, it never happened, so don't worry about it. And whenever people get down with art, going like, oh, they're looking at somebody else's work and they think it's better. That's very nice. It's flattering and stuff. But at the same time, you can't get stuck in that. You got to keep drawing and just know that in order to get better, you have to draw today. It's the only way. There's no other secrets. Wolf, how's it going? What kind of program are you using? I've never seen that filling method like that. Who needs rules? This is Clip Studio Paint. It's pretty popular software now, which is really good. Glad to hear that. More and more people using it. Not that I think it's a superior software or anything like that, just that the more people that use something, the more improvements that they're inclined to make, and more content they'll make for the platform and stuff like that. So it's good. Yeah, the trailer for Infinity War was, oh my god. I'm very excited. I thought I couldn't see a single flaw in that whole damn thing. It hit me right where it counts. Whoop. Half of you is patient to get better, the other half isn't. Nah, that you know what that is? That's an artist. That's all that is. Nothing will ever satisfy. You'll continually doubt if what you're doing is good enough. What do you want to be? What do you want your work to say? Who do you want to show it to? How come it's not easier? How come more people don't appreciate my stuff? Why do I suck today? Everything I do I can't draw. All these things are like they'll never go away. I love it. It's like that quote from the War of Art that we were actually talking about the last stream. It's like, if you're an artist, you've willingly signed up for a life of hell. It's your own fault. Hey Sharon, how's it going? Welcome back. I like Glenn Vilppu as a teacher. He constantly reminds his students there are no rules, just tools. I could agree with that to an extent as far as you said about creative innocence. Okay, appreciate that. Dennis retweeted Adam Tyranny. Hey artists, if you're worried that your art style is too weird, unremarkable, or won't get you paid work. Speaking as someone who hires artists constantly, I only use people who can draw like no one else. Be you. Be the best unique artist you can. The work will come. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I also heard, maybe it was in the War of Art or something else. They were talking about styles and stuff like that. And they were saying, like, if you copy somebody else's style to a T, right, where people go, wow, that really looks like so-and-so's art. All you're doing, like, you might get work. You'll probably get work. But all you're doing is you're increasing that person's exposure and that person's style. Like, you get lost in that, if that makes sense. So if you draw like Jim Lee, like very close to Jim Lee, I'm not saying don't look at these people and have like inspiration and all that stuff, but the closer you try to get to another person's style, the further away you get from your own. And then what really happens, or what can happen, is people just think of that other person even though you drew it. And that's a pretty shitty spot to be in. You might get some work, but I don't know what the long-term thing is for that. The one thing you can control, this goes for everybody, is just draw. That's the one thing. Like, there's too many guesses out there of like, is this the right, what do I want to do with my life with art? Yeah, that's great. Always be thinking about that stuff, but while you're doing that, keep drawing. Don't stop. Because without the drawing, a lot of this just starts falling apart. You don't want that. I don't know if you told you when I upload the first episode of my comic. Oh no. Where is it, April? You can post the name of it if you want. If not, you can send it over Facebook if you're shy about it. How's it going? You get any views, any subs, or anything yet? Or are you still stuck in in hell where nobody can even look at it, or nobody's even interested, or you're getting no feedback? It's like you put your art out there and you just hear that well go, like that drip sound, and nobody's looking at your stuff. That's always a fun place to be. Alright, I think what I'm going to do for this side here, put a little bit of shadow. I'm just trying to break up the form here because it's a big chunk of shape here, right? But I don't want to just add shadow to the whole damn piece, so maybe we'll just kind of put a couple spots in here. The Other World? Okay, right on. I'll actually check it out. Actually, let me just put it over here. And congratulations too, by the way. What would you suggest to someone who is trying to make their style distinguished, assuming their foundation is established? Well, the easiest thing would be what gets you hot. What gets you excited to draw? And if you don't know, I'm a fan of going back to the past and trying to remember when you were a kid, when you were picking up a pencil or whatever. What was it you would draw? Was it just copying video game characters? Maybe it's a certain style from a video game or something, I do think the more you mix and match your influences together, that's how you just get style. It's like, remember we talked about this too before, like all style, like if we all look at how to draw an anatomy book, like Andrew Loomis, if every single person in the world mastered that, we'd all look the same, right? There'd be slight variations, but it's our inability to draw something is which gives you a style. So the way you draw a head, it's not as realistic as possible, and maybe it's because you don't know how to tilt the head in a certain way, but that does give you your style. Now the responsible thing and the tricky thing is how do you remember all of that while still doing your best to make it right? So you don't, does that make sense? Instead of just trying to make something to make it. Oops, what the hell's going on here? Oh, got the wrong thing. A head's the easiest explanation for this. So like if you can't draw a head in anything other than a 3/4 sideways shot, you can't draw an up shot or something like that, you'll wing it when you have to for like a script or something, right? Or when you're doing your art, you'll wing it. But your inability to do it right is what gives you your style. So the responsible thing is to recognize that, but not to just like give up and go, I don't draw well because that's my style. Like that's the shit thing to do. Don't be that person. There's a balance that you have to hit. Actually, let me just fill this whole thing in here. Let's have a little look-see on this. Fill all this in here. And for those wondering, I do have a second monitor over here, so I can just quickly glance and see how it's working, even though you guys can't really see it. But just to answer your question, what would I do to recommend somebody to like do something to change to make their style recognizable or unique? Again, look at what got you excited when you were a kid. as well as definitely mixing and matching. You know, take the nose of this, the eye of that, like a witch's potion or something. You know, eye of Adam Hughes, nose of Joe Madureira, expressions of Akira. You know, like stuff like that. Those actually look like shit. Okay, let's back that up. Grew up. You wanted what was it? You used to jump off your dresser because you wanted to fly. Jesus Christ, I don't remember that at all. That's hilarious. Used to climb the walls like Spider. Oh, like hand to feet kind of thing, back and forth. No, the hallway walls are close to each other on opposite sides, so we take off our socks and scale up with hand and foot on each. Okay. Awesome. Ben, how many thumbnail drafts do you tend to make before inking? I'm trying not to think too hard about my story, just focusing on drawing, but I want it to be at least coherent. Uh, hmm. How many thumbnail drafts do you tend to make? Usually just one, sometimes two. But I will say, in this, this isn't like a. I hate, I know you're just asking, so I don't want to make this sound like this is, again, the pompous bullshit. But like I've been doing the comic stuff for a while, and I realize I don't have a full time job doing it, right? But I have been doing comics, like getting paid to do comics, like off and on since I don't know, shit, 2000, right? 2000, 2001, around there. So we're looking at almost 20 years, right? So there's always room for improvement, is what I'm trying to say. But that's why I can get it down to like one or like usually just one pass. Now, if I was working for Marvel or DC or something where I feel like the pressure would be on, then it might I might jump it up a few, maybe two, maybe three if something was super complicated. But I guess the trick here is like you'll have your bag of tricks, and always beware that you have to update your bag of tricks, meaning like the shot choices you always use and stuff like that. So always check out, or every now and then, don't forget to come up for air, looking at other people's artwork and stuff, and maybe getting inspired by like a camera angle or something like that. Just like you did, when you're learning to draw, all that stuff. But the longer you spend dilly dallying, trying to get like the best thumbnails before you move on, remember, and I'm a big believer of this now, especially after that book, The War of Art. All of these things are just distractions. Your brain is allowing you to do distractions to prevent you from actually moving forward on anything. So just give yourself a number. Like I can only do this twice, and then no matter what I have to jump into making it. Because if you don't ever force yourself to do it, your brain, it's a clever SOB, right? It'll do everything in its power to prevent you from doing things that are good for you. And in this case, what's good for you is making comics. In this case, right? Fuck my neck, man. Ugh. I remember in first grade, I used to draw cat ears and laboratory equipment because of a movie you watch, and I crawl around for like that. Sharing same kids freak out their parents rite of passage. There you go. Hey, great now. How's it going, buddy? What's up? How about the Wacom feature in which there? Sorry, what? What's that? How about Wacom feature my review on their? I don't know what you're saying there, pal. Art, how's it going? You ever think about putting your illustrations on canvas and hanging it on your wall? Nah, that's just not for me. I got a buddy that I work with. Really cool guy. He's more into the painting stuff, and he finds it relaxing and all that. I did get some watercolors and stuff, and I was messing around with them for a little bit. But this stuff here just feels like home. Like it is work. This style that I'm doing here, this kind of thing, drawing. But I've just been doing this for so friggin' long that this just feels so comfortable right now that it's, I can put some music on, and as long as I can get the mindset to like sit down and to draw, I'll be all right. But to answer your question directly about the canvas thing, no, I've printed out, like if you've ever gone to a comic book convention, you might know like the style of prints that are out there. I've printed out a few of my pieces and prints that I've done over the years, and just I hang that up. But I would like to get some other people's artwork up in here, so it's not just me in love with myself. But the canvas thing, and that's the other thing too. Like I actually really don't like a lot of fine art and stuff like that. Like I can appreciate it, but I don't actively go out and look for it. And it's probably to my detriment that I'm not looking at that stuff. It's just I don't know. I got to be in the mood to look at that stuff, and I put canvas and paint and all that stuff sort of in the same boat. It's a different medium, but the art rules still apply, right? But I'm one of those guys that I would much rather have walls of concept art on my like painting or not paintings, prints of concept art and movie stills and comic book pages. I'd rather have that kind of art around me as opposed to like a painting. And I know that's not always the case. I've definitely been moved and stuff like that, and want some paintings that I've seen that people have done, but it's just not something that I actively search for. Great. Now they took my review of this antique and featured in YouTube review. Oh, good for you, buddy. Nice. Get some traffic that way, man. Awesome. When you get stuck in Halifax at the restaurant or hotel, and I have a problem where the longer I spend laughing, the more stupid it's. You become aware of your laughter, eh? Wow, that's. All right. Let's try to hurry up through this hair here. Art Life, is there a dry brush in Clip Studio? I believe so. There's a lot of free things that you can download for Clip Studio where you can get some dry brush kind of effects. A lot of people they talk about I think his name Friendon. He's got a big brush pack you can buy, super cheap, loads of stuff in there. Just fire around with it. Also, some people don't know about this, so I'll just show it. Uh, Whenever you get Clip Studio, I don't know if it's just the EX version, but if you go up here, you go to File, start Clip Studio. I already downloaded some stuff here, but there's a whole bunch of gradient maps, pens, pencils, brushes, and stuff, right? Like you can just search, like let's put brushes. Actually, let's do dry brush. Let's see if we get anything. Whoops, dry brush. So there's a few here. I mean, these are just ones that are on this app or whatever, right? But you can just click here. Excuse me. You can just click here. Sometimes it just takes a little while for artwork to pop up here. Depends on your internet speed, I guess. Okay. Anyway, you can click download. There's always other brushes and stuff like that. Speaking of movie stills, have you seen the Blade Runner movie? The new Blade, lots of great composition there. I have not. No. I really enjoyed the first one, but I'm so lazy when it comes to going to see movies. Certain movies, I should say. Like the Avengers trailer, I'm seeing that. That's not debatable. Star Wars, I will see that. Blade Runner, eh, even though it's one of those things, you know what it is? A lot of this stuff is just the property, right? Like I enjoyed the Blade Runner movie, but the lore and the world building and all that stuff is cool, but I'm just not like as in tune with it and excited about it as I am like other things. So those things they tend to slip away. I'll probably see it one day, maybe someday. I don't know. All right. So we're almost done with the shadow flats, right? And what we'll do next is I use my watercolor mixing brush. All it does is just sort of like gives us some soft areas. Right, you guys are familiar with that. And then it's pretty much done at that point, except we got some level adjustments and some color correction that I like to do. It just sort of puts it all together. I'll put the paper texture on there too. April, you let me know if you're still here. I'll send you an example of it with the paper texture and one without. If you like it, I can put it on. If not, just get rid of it. What's your dad doing? Is he playing a Diablo game? Path Exile or whatever? I think BR makes you work to enjoy the story. BR, Blade Runner. It's presented better if they were more enjoyable. It's just so slow burning. I heard like lots of good things. A lot of people really liked it. Like it looked really cool. I love the soundtrack. I love that synthwave music. Like I said, just I don't know. Just didn't pull me out of the house to go see it. If it's ever on Netflix, which I'm sure one day it will be, you know, I'll probably watch it then, something like that. If you do remember, what's something that really got you into art? Oh, he is playing that. Yeah, guy's been living on that damn thing. What is the one thing that got me into art? Okay, well, I think the first and foremost thing that got me into art was a lot of, and I think this is actually a really big deal. Uh, I'm hoping a lot of art parents, or even just, I don't know who else is watching these fucking things, but if you have kids, I highly recommend if they're artistic at all, they enjoy, anything extracurricular or whatever. It's just that positive reinforcement, even if you're not really that good. Don't blow up their egos, where it's like, oh, you're the best thing ever. Wow. But I do remember getting praise and stuff for drawing, and it was good. I was doing it to get praise, and it felt good for my immediate family, like my mom and I don't know about my dad. I don't. He did, but I don't think it was. It was more of like it was just something fun that the kid was doing. I don't think it was like, oh Jesus, this poor bastard's gonna try to do this as a career. Oh, that's a horrible life to have. But it started off with that, and then it carried on into school where it was like, okay, so you draw, so it's like kind of like that fun little talent you got, and everybody's kind of like, wow, how do you draw? But then I know I got bullied for it as well. I'm sure there's other reasons I got bullied for that, but from there went to, and I finally, there was another kid that I in grade school. I'd never met him before, and he blew me out of the water. And then I started noticing other artists creeping up around grade school, and that's how I got introduced into a comic, like X-Men comic actually. I still remember the guy. He was just drawing what he saw from the comic, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't draw from what I saw. I was drawing from imagination, and what he was drawing was, he's copying a Marvel artist, so his like level is just like it just blew me out of the water. But it was like, how are you doing that? I was just, wow, this is crazy. I didn't even know like this sort of stuff existed. And that's where a lot of this stuff started coming from, which was looking at art that got me really excited. And I was just like, man, it's just really fun. But the main thing that got me into doing what just sticking with art, besides all of that, was two things. One, art was a way that I didn't have to, like, it was like an escape. I could just do my own thing and then share it with people. I didn't have to like communicate with people. You know what I mean? I didn't have to like say anything. I could just draw, show it, people would like smile or say, yeah, good for you, tap you on the head, and then you're on your merry way. There was that. And then the other one was art was, some people, I think they look at like a car or something. They like taking something apart and putting it together, understand how it works. I was sucked into the video games, like Super Nintendo especially, like the role playing games, Capcom art, like Street Fighter, all this stuff. It was pure creativity all the time. And I feel kind of, I don't know what it's like growing up as a kid now or a teenager now with video games, but when I did, like Nintendo Super Mario Brothers 3 was huge. I don't remember how old I was then, but I just remember getting Super Nintendo and then being introduced to role playing games for the first time, and it was just like I can't imagine this anywhere else, and that's what I don't understand. Like the internet wasn't around, right? So when you went to the movie store, right, like the Blockbusters or the whatever, and you picked up a video game based off the box art, which is like a book, right? You look at a book, you're like, am I gonna read this? Well, look at that really kick-ass cover. Same with the comic book, right? But you'd get this game and you look at the back and it would say something like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And you put it in and you're just like, it was entertainment that you participated in. That's what got me into sticking with art because I could redraw these things that I was seeing. It activated my imagination in a way that I was participating in the thing and I wanted to stay there and I wanted to just keep exploring with that stuff. And it wasn't, even when I read comics and stuff, it was like comics are really slick because they were doing the same thing. But when it came time to sitting down to draw them, comics take way too long. And I would imagine even to this day it's probably worse, but as a kid you got no attention span at all. I'd rather be playing the game or reading the comic than making it, you know? So comics weren't really a thing. So that's when I started tracing and doing all that stuff so that I could get like that appreciation quicker. Even though I know everybody saw what I was doing, they knew I didn't do it. I just copied it from something. But when you're a kid, you think you're slick, right? And you can just kind of get away with that. But then so I just kept that up, kept getting a little better, you know, year by year, and then eventually it was sort of like comics was a thing. It could be done. And then I understood the process of drawing a little bit. And this is what's carried on for like the last 20 years is that when you start drawing, you have so much to learn that it's always awesome. But the problem is you're always looking at the people that are better than you because that's your aspiration. You want to get there. You want to figure that out. You want to become that person for whatever reason, right? Once you get there, you're in a whole nother world. You're in a world with all those professionals now, and it's even scarier than it was before, except for the fact that you've gained all that experience up to that point, and you can actually, when you were a kid on your bed drawing up a world or whatever, and you just couldn't get that angle right, eventually you get there and you can draw that thing. But for most of us, this goes back to what I was saying before: is most of us we forget how to be creative, and that's the cost with the time, right? So anyway, a long, really winded way of saying it. It was a mix of video games in the '90s and just getting positive reinforcement from people. It's the only reason I stuck with it. If when I was growing up, mom and dad hated that I drew and reinforced it as a bad negative thing and they wanted me to be in sports or something like that, I could guarantee I wouldn't be drawing 100%. Okay. John, could you do a texture experiment for me when you're done with the art? Dupe and flatten the line art, then add a noise filter, then a Gaussian blur filter. I've been using it like that. Okay, let me try that right now here. Alright, we'll use this. So let me just duplicate that so we don't get rid of it. I think that's what you're saying, right? Alright, let's just check the dupe and flatten the art. Flatten the art. I'm not no noise filter and Gaussian filter. I don't know if I would do that. Let's just try this with this. Blur. No, how do we, what is it? Noise? Perlin noise? Is that what you want? Ugh. Doesn't look very good. Okay. Then Gaussian blur filter. And I realize you might have some settings in here. I'm just sort of... My computer is dying right now. It sounds horrible. Okay, let me check this out here. Oh, what the hell? The whole image got... Okay, actually, you know what we could do? We could select this and clear. Let's look at the chat. And then multiply. That's an interesting look. It kind of has like a watercolor kind of look to it. I'm not a fan of it myself. It's interesting. but more lo-fi. Similar stories? Right on, right on. Everybody's got their own little thing, right? And that's all good. Hey, Zelda. Okay, so we got all our shadows in here. So the next step is to, sorry, how that noise isn't quite the same as Photoshop. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. I was imagining when you're the words you were saying for the filters, I was like, those sound like Photoshop. All right, so I'm just going to duplicate the shadow on each of them, just so. And the reason I'm duplicating them for the process junkies out there is if you duplicate it, you can always go back to it. So if you don't like I can push this, and if I don't like how it got pushed, you can always go back. Right. All right, so we're gonna soften up some of these edges. Now the problem here, as you can see, what's happening is there's this right, like it looks like Mudfest. So what I think we might do is let's actually bring in this purple that I normally use. Oh, sweet Jesus. I'll actually put it on multiply, I guess, just so I can see it a little bit better. Alright, so I'll just zoom out so you guys kind of see what the hell's going on, right? So it's starting to come together. It's got the feels. But, so we want to smooth some of these things out so it's not all just cell shading. So like her breast area, whoops, let's turn that off. And what we're trying to do here is, if you think of it, what I'm trying to smooth out anything that's a core shadow, meaning it is the shadow, right? So her breast here, right? It's like a ball kind of shape, right? So the light is hitting here, and as it goes down, it goes into a gray into black, right? But a cast shadow, such as like the shadow on her lip, casting a shadow on her face, that doesn't get the treatment, right? But her chin would cause a shadow like that, right? This would cause a shadow. And you don't gotta do it everywhere, but like this lip would have one, this tooth would have one, but the cast shadow onto the tooth wouldn't, right? This would, but that wouldn't because the roof of the mouth is casting it. You kind of get the idea there? Hey, no, no problem, man. Thanks for requesting me to try it anyway. I'm always up for trying new stuff, right? How else are you going to learn? How else are you going to get new tech if you don't try some stuff out every once in a while? You can see my sloppy coloring here. I'm actually probably going to do nothing on the hair. I'm just going to leave it. Let me zoom out a bit. Getting lost in it. Actually, more of this should probably be in shadow here. Something like that looks better. Alright, so she's done. Let's go over to her little friend over here. Did you discover digital art at an older age or younger? How old was I? So I got into digital with an old, you can Google search this, a Wacom Graphire. It had this really nifty thing. Actually, here, let me just show you guys this here. Graphire. It had, oh man, this is bringing me back. Holy hell. Which one did I have? I had, was it that one? I think it was this one. So this was my Wacom back in the day. When I was a young boy, back in the 90s. Okay, so this is what I had. What was really neat is you see this little lip, you could lift this up, and this whole thing was like a plastic sheet. And you could actually, I think, I don't know what the idea of it was, but you could put paper underneath of it so you could trace over top. I think that was the idea of it. But it was, oh boy, oh boy. But I only got into this, I think, when did I buy that? I'm trying to go back in time here. I graduated high school in the year 2000. So I think I was messing around with this around 1999, 2000, around there. But it wasn't like, I know I tried to fiddle around with art, and that was around the time 1998, 1999. I was introduced to Photoshop from a friend at school, and we were kind of using it at school. It's nothing like it is today. Nothing at all, at all like that. So I was messing around with that, but mostly for color. I couldn't get the control, like being able to look at the screen and draw with my hand down. I just could never get that connection. Fast forward, I just want to say real quick. So the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics I talk about all the time. Freddie Williams uses a bamboo, Wacom bamboo, which is very similar to what you're looking at on the screen right now. The only reason I can't speak for him, but for myself, that I'm able to get even some mild control over my line art is because, again, I've been using it since 2000, right? So it's like, we'll be coy and say some of it we weren't 15 years of using the damn thing. You get used to it, right? But that was about the time I started dabbling, and it was mostly for digital coloring. So I would still draw my artwork with pencils, and mostly just pencils, scan them into Photoshop, and then darken them, clean them up a little bit for some inks, and then I could put some shadow and some color on there. But I didn't understand color at all. So a lot of the stuff looked real shit. Just to be totally honest. Is there a reason you decided to ditch the face cam lately? Just because I don't know. I just don't feel like putting it on. I don't think it adds anything. I mean, it's interesting to have there, but um, yeah, just haven't really. I mean, we could put it back in if you guys want to see me, but then I can't stream naked anymore, and that's a problem for me. I'm just joking. But now that I do, just to add on to that story there, April. So now that I'm doing like what you're seeing here, this stuff more so. Now I've pretty much given into just being a full time digital artist currently, just because like the speed at which I can do stuff because of the amount of time I've put into doing this, it's paying off. Um, and I can be a lot more messy and sloppy. I don't think my talent is in traditional tools. Not that it can't be. I just have to sit down and devote some time to it, right? Like I can get by. I can do what I need to do. But I feel like my artwork got much better digital because, and I've said this a bunch of times too, like I'm not a very good inker traditionally at all, but digital I can have such manipulation on what I'm doing that I feel like I could play around and get some settings to something that is passable for me, right? Um, but if I sat down and tried to figure this stuff out traditionally, we could get there just like anything else. But the cost of tools and all the stuff, you guys know how much art is, right? Can be. Hell, if you're working on a computer at all, you know what the hell I'm talking about. This guy's actually pretty simple to do here. What about you, Stop Sticks? Is there something you want to do with art, like as a job, perhaps, or is it just something you're doing for fun and just enjoying it as it goes? Sharing digital is an upfront investment. I like both mediums. Hashtag sketchbooks for life. Yeah. Definitely in the camp of as long as people are making art, who cares? Right? I agree. You probably should do both from time to time. A lot of the commissions I'll do, I like to do traditional as well. And the thing is, like, I started my art stuff was traditional, so I'm with you 100%. More people making art, the better, right? All right, so we got our purple here. So let's go ahead and put the flats in here. This is like the fun part. So this is where things can get tricky. If the flats are kind of all over the place, the color can get a little wacky town. But let's just take a look and see what we're looking at here. So we got that guy, and we'll go over here. Put all the color for her. I think we got everything. Okay, so let's take an objective look at what we're looking at here. So for me, generally, I would just walk away. I'm like, cool, it's done, right? But it's pretty dark. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just sort of oh, forgot we got debris here as well. Let's put that back in. I'm not sure which one I like. Do you guys like more debris or less debris? More debris, less debris. You guys let me know. Dennis is saying digital made me more brave. I dared to take more chances. I agree. That is a very good point. Slapsticks, I do want to do it as a job, and sometimes I feel pressure to get better fast, mostly so I have a reason to have higher prices than I have now, so I can attract more people to commission me. Okay, well, you know what? I mean, if your uncle could give you one piece of solid advice. Actually, you know what? A guy I work with, he said this, and I thought this was the funniest thing. He's an animator and an artist, right? And he went over to a friend's house, and it's a couple, and they just had a kid, so they were just showing off their kid, right? It's a little baby or whatever. Actually, I think they might have been like one or two or something, or three. I don't know. They're just drawing some pictures. They're like, hey, one day maybe the kid will grow up to be an artist like you, right? And then my buddy said this, and I think this is the greatest thing I've ever heard, or not. Anyway, he goes, "Are you 100% sure you want your kid to be an artist when they grow up? Because like, look at me, and I mean, take a good long look at me. This is the future for that child. If this is what you is this really what you want? Like really what you want for your kid?" And I always feel like anybody that has the art gene in them for such a long period of time, you can kind of get a little salty like that too. It's hilarious. But anyway, if your uncle could give you a piece of advice, is if art is something you want to do, and hell, even look at your dad. There's different avenues of art, right? But it's a patience game. It's a long-term game, and just know that the more investment you give in yourself, meaning the more you draw for fun, the better your life will be. Never to lose the fact that drawing is fun. The moment, because if you want to make art a career, there's things where you have to sit down and draw even when you don't feel like it, right? But your job says you have to. So if you can still remain having fun in certain parts of it, that's really the trick. That's really the trick. As for like the game, like, oh god, I gotta be working more than I am right now in order to like compete with other people. That'll never go away. And there is truth to that. You know, the harder you work, if you're not working, somebody else is working. There is truth to that, 100%. But at the same time, as long as you're drawing, you're fine. You know, as long as you're not slacking off. You're still young, so you got to have fun, right? I wouldn't worry about the life after school and all that stuff too much, but be aware of it. But remember to have fun. If you're not having fun with your art, it's just going to turn into a cancer. And then the worst thing is, I just hope, and this has happened to people, even people I went to school with, where it's like art just becomes a pain, and then they just stop doing art altogether. And the last thing we need is people not being artists. If you don't want to be, that's cool, but just to, you know what I mean. Anyway, okay, let's see who's here. Less is more. Less is more. We're saying less is more. Great. Okay, so let's go back to the art here. So I'm looking at this. Actually, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. All right, so let's try to finish this bitch up. Okay, so let's go ahead and toss a black layer over top. I like to put this to color, right? And you can just turn this on and off. It's an old dirty, greasy trick where you can just get values and you can start to see where things blend. So I guess actually just let me see something here. What's that? I remember my dad showing me his college sketchbook, and I'd really see good ones and go, "Was that yours?" I say, "No, it's Uncle." In April, too, remember, okay? And I'll always throw this out here, and I'll actually ask you a question right now while you're doing this. Do you mind if I alter some of these characters' colors like a little bit? And I'm not saying like her screen or her color is blue and now it's going to be a teal. I'm just saying I want to push some of the values here just to make this pop a little bit more. But I will say this as well, April. If you ever want to come by and you ever want to draw, or you ever got art questions or anything like that, please know that my door is always open, of course. Have little draw buddies in here. That'd be great. I'm one of them. Let's say you might have predicted Batman versus Superman. Ooh, boy, that nice. Okay, so let's take a look here. All right, so there's a lot of colors that are kind of blending here. Actually, no, I gotta wait here. See what's going on. So, like the one thing that I'm seeing that's happening right away is if I grab my eye bucket, my eyedropper tool. This guy's leg and her skin color, they're the same tone, meaning if you guys look over here, can you guys even see this? I'm going to take an executive decision. Yeah, okay, you can. Okay, cool. So you can change it. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. It'll be a better picture. Don't worry. I'm not going to. I'll show you. And you might learn something. Everybody else might learn stuff. We're all learning stuff together. Let's all learn. Let's learn. Okay, so this guy, let me turn this off so you guys can see. So if you look at this guy's skin color, it's like a purplish color, which is cool. And she's blue. You might look at them and go like, wow, they're radically different, right? It's awesome. But when we get rid of the color and we're just looking at value, check over here. This is where I want you to look over here. You see this gray? When I click on her skin, it shifts like very slightly, right? Like let's take a look at the info. Open up, damn it. So it's looking like it's what, 137 all the way through. Will this stay open? No, 137 all the way through. Right? And then we'll open up this 137. It's literally the same, okay? So in order to fix this, we just got to change one of them. Just change them up, right? So what I'm thinking is we got to pick, actually, April, you tell me this, okay? Which one of these two characters is like more of a bad guy? The one on the left or the one on the right? And the reason I ask that is I'm going to just follow some simple, what is the word? Simple, not icon, symbolism. Where darker characters generally are seen as villains and the lighter ones are heroes, right? I'm assuming the guy on the right one is more evil. Oh, shit. Okay, I was going the other direction. Okay, cool. All right, so if that's the case, right, I'm just going to make a slight little alteration here. So, and I really like her colors here. The blue and the yellow looks really, really nice. So I'm going to pick this blue. But we're going to just go a little darker with it, right? Just going to bring it down here. Actually, this is another way of doing it. So let's go ahead. And this is the benefit of working on flats, right? You can select all these layers. So we're going to go here. I'm just going to lock it. And we're going to go, actually here, let's do this. File, save. I'm going to save two versions in case I go way out there, and so we can always come back. Save as color 2. Oops, 2. Okay. So I'm going to select the layer with her skin color on there, right? And we're just going to go Control U. And I'm just going to bring the brightness down. Now the idea here is to get it so that it doesn't match his leg or his flesh color as much. Right, so we'll say here, just so I can kind of see where this is going. And you can see what's happening, right? It's going to start matching with the hair. So everything's kind of going to have to get toned down a little bit. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so let's keep going here. Let's bring the brightness down. Usually what I like to do though when I'm doing this is doing a little bit of like a hue shift, like maybe going into like a purple. But you can see right now her hair is really popping. And even like, okay, if I were to click this and then that it's a jump, but it's not a big enough jump. But between this and that, it's about the same, right? So let's go ahead and we'll start with her hair. I think her hair should be this darker color here. So we're gonna go there. You can see right away how that just made her head pop a little bit more, right? So let's go ahead and we're gonna pick this. I'm gonna keep shifting towards purple here, and we're gonna go a little less saturation. We can get the claws in there. Now you see, now check this out. This is really cool. This is one of the benefits too, guys, of playing with value, right? Is when we turn this layer on, check this out. Do you see now that this is much darker in here, right? The value, it's almost getting towards black, so it could be getting a little too dark, but when it's in contrast to the claws really pop now, right? Do you see, just because there's such a value difference there. And that's what we're kind of looking for here. Even on her face, the eyes, you see, like, check that out. When we turn that off, the eyes are bright red. You can see them very clearly. But what we might want to do is try, and I'm just going to try this out right now, is it's almost like a counter thought, you know? You might think, I'm just going to pick red, and that's all you need. But sometimes even going like a pinkish red will really get you where you need to go. So we're going to lock that layer just in case I wanted to manually change it. And bring up some brightness. I'm actually going to saturate it too. I want to make sure it's pure saturation. Right, like her eyes are getting almost white. So I just want to see, and I don't want to go too far from the character, right? If they start looking less. So you see what's happening here too? Like, to me, they went a little orange, but it still could read as red. But do you see how they pop more now? Like on that face? And this is something to just keep in mind. And this takes time, and I'm still learning it. Trust me. I'm just trying to share what I know. Or at least the version of it that I understand is the more you can have value, this right here, the more you can have this flow better, the better your colors are going to always look. Your image as a whole will always look better because of it, okay? So it's important to have something happening with this, right? Like if you look at the spots on her body, like they pop big time. Now the next question to ask is, do they pop too much? Am I looking at them and that's the only thing I'm looking at is like the texture on her body? And usually what happens because of that, and I'm not, I'm not blaming April or anybody that does this stuff. It's just an experience thing, is yes, you want the yellow and the blue for her colors, right? But you don't just pick yellow and blue. There's shades of those colors, right? And those are what give you the pull. And the thing is, especially when you're working with value, it lets you draw the eye much better. Like, what do you want people to look at? The eyes or the claws and that kind of stuff, right? So what I'm actually going to do here is let's pick her her spots, because I think they look really awesome. But I think they're just too much. Too much. So if we bring the brightness down just a little bit, let's see what that looks like. So now everything's kind of blending a little bit more, right? And it's still yellow. It's still yellow. And trust me, we're going to punch some saturation up and stuff. So don't worry about that. I just want to make sure right here is kind of drawing your attention. So her claws, actually, I want those claws to really... They're attacking each other, right? This is life and death. At least that's the story I'm trying to tell with it. Actually, let me just quickly check with the mouth. Okay, that's fine. So you see the color of how her teeth are really popping on her face there? I want the same effect for her claws. So what we're going to do is we might bring them a little bit more. I don't want to go white with them, but... Right, like this is full white. Don't want to go too crazy like that. But maybe something like that might look okay. So let's just double check here. Yeah, I like those. I like that a little bit better. Let's see what else we're looking at. I'm actually, you know what I'm considering here? Let's just try this out as well. Let's get our shadow color. Multiply. I'm thinking of just covering her whole tail in shadow here. Just to make sure, see, kind of drown some stuff out there. I'm not sure about that. This is one of the costs of the style that I'm working in right now, where I only have a single shading thing that I can put in there, right? If I upped it to like a secondary shadow color as well, I could really push that further as well. But I might be able to do some other effect for that. Alright, so if we put that back on there, let's just take a look here. Right, so at least my eye's kind of moving around. Her hair, now that I'm looking at it, might be a little too close to her skin color. I think what we'll do is we'll actually darken it up just a little bit. I don't want it matching her claws. Maybe something like that. And what we'll do is once I kind of correct this stuff like this, we're gonna just do the guy here. I'll open up both, and we can just flip back and forth, just so you guys can kind of see it together, okay? And maybe what we're doing right now actually won't work. You know, maybe it won't work. Okay, on to the feller. All right, so he's April saying they're both evil, but the one on the left, he was saved in a way. And we're always trying to tell a story, and in this story, it's two evils fighting each other, but one is, maybe a little bit more good than the other one. So I don't want to make him too bright. He's still a villain. But what we might be able to do here, actually, is play with his skin color a little bit. Because it's everywhere. And the thing is, like, you see how it like this, obviously, like what I'm trying to do with composition is get the tail to point directly at her face. Her tail's kind of curling back down in his face. It's just a symmetrical kind of design here, right? But his tail pops so well because of how dark her hair is. But then when you look over here, whereas right here, like this arm, right, that's on her, like pretty much all over her body, it gets lost in hers as well. But it pops over here. So I don't think it's going to work the way it is. So let's go ahead and we're just going to change. We're going to lighten it up a little bit more. Because what I'm actually really concerned about is this right here. You see how it's getting closer to that yellow? So punch up the saturation here. Let's just take a look, see what it's looking like. Sometimes that you can kind of get this stuff to work, and sometimes you just sort of play around a little bit more with what you got. Wonder if that yellow actually maybe will bring the brightness down a bit more. Alright, his skin's getting a little, might be pushing too much, but it might be as close as we need it. Alright, let's take a look at that. I just don't want it getting white, See where it is? It's getting to like a lavender pink kind of color. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what we got here. So, we can kind of just keep moving through the piece here, right? So his hair, I think his hair could probably go a little darker. If you look at the two of them, they're pretty much in line. And his face is that skin color, which is in the range. But maybe it's his shirt. His shirt is too close with the hair, right? So let's find that. Let's find that layer here. Hey, Zelda. There it is. Hi, Momo. So I think we're going to lighten it up a bit. Yeah, that's where we want to go. So you see what's kind of happening here? I'm going to have to change the wings in that. But now you can clearly see a bow tie where it was getting a little bit lost before. Now you can kind of start seeing the hair a little bit more and stuff like that. That's what we want. Like it's still following the colors and stuff that we were given. Okay, so we got that. And let me just move here. So let's see his horns. His horns here. They pop. Kind of getting lost here with the hand. Let's see if we can mess around with that just a little bit here. Alright. Is that the right layer? Yep. So we bring the brightness down a little bit. I just don't want it to get closer to his shirt color. That'd be a problem. Okay. And let's get the wings going. Where are we at here? So it's these two. Okay. So let's put this back on. All right. So what's the dark wings? I don't mind those. Those look like they kind of contrast pretty well. It's these back ones that I'm kind of worried about. If we brighten them up, just want to go all the way here just to see. Could be the amount of shadow I have there too. If we darken them, I don't mind that. So close to black is this? You don't want to go full black here. See, because what's happening is it's starting to meld with the hair a little bit here. The green's there, but it's just not playing that well. So I think what we'll do here is we'll grab this, and maybe we can just actually change the color of it a little bit. So she's got a lot of yellow, so I'm gonna kind of bring in some, I guess, some blue kind of color there. Maybe we punch the saturation up a bit. I'll bring it down. Bring the lightness up a bit. All right, let's take a look here. Still pretty close, but it could be again because of the shadow that I'm using. But anyway, I'm hoping this kind of shows you guys a little bit of you know, back and forth how this can kind of play. Okay, so let me save this here. I'm gonna open up the other one, and we'll just have them here, just so hopefully there's a difference here. If not, then I mean, what the hell? This one, yeah. Okay, so try to look past the menu here. All right, we'll turn this off. So let's just, oops. Oh, just lagging. Okay. So do you guys see the difference at all? Do you guys spot it? Or see it at all? You might actually like the bottom one more than the top. No, this is good. Cedric, how's it going, buddy? So Substance is saying, why do I find it harder to say I prefer the other version? That it would be, sorry, that it would be, oh, no. So, what I would ask then is, what is it about the original one that you like more than the second one? And also to put in there, I'm going to be punching up the saturation to make it feel a little bit more cartoony as well. The colors, they do feel drowned out right now, but I'm going to do something that harmonizes all the colors in a second. So anyway, I'm just trying to show the example for everybody here, right? So these are the two, right? So this bottom one was the original one, and I felt like there was just a lot of things that were blending together. That's the reason we kind of changed it. So what I'll do is, if it's a little bit harder to see, we're going to put the black back on here, just so you guys can see the value change, right? So if you see the different, let me see how this is showing up here on stream, so make sure. Okay, so the difference of this between them now, hopefully, is there's little areas that are ideally just more, they pop a little bit more, right? So if you look at her claws in the top one, they pop more than they do here at the bottom. The skin colors are all kind of blending, especially all in this area down here. But here, there's a little bit more differentiating values, where it's still a very busy thing in here. This is your eye is going to get drawn here, and there's not too much I can do with that because of the claws and just all the detail that's there. There's not as much open space as there is around here. The darkness around the wings make it so that his arm pops, right? Darkening the hair so that the horns and the face pop a little bit more, that kind of stuff, the tail, all that. A real Monko mates? Okay. All right, so let's keep going here. And again, any feedback, I do appreciate hearing you guys. All right, so we can turn this off, so that's there. All right, so next, let's get some magic going here. So usually, I'm not sure about the background just yet. Background, let's fart around with that while I give my brain a little bit of downtime. So what I've been doing with the background, just so you guys know, it's a very simple just gradient, right? But I've been using blending modes, or not blending mode, sorry. So if you go layer, correction layer, gradient map, what it does is it replaces a hue, so or a value. So if something is a white value, if I put a color for it, so here's an example. Let's just double click this. So anything that's white becomes this light blue. Anything that's black becomes this dark blue. And what's really cool about that is you, again, work with your values to establish a background, and then you could just quickly drop in sort of like the color that you would like, you know? And the struggle I have with this one is she's so blue. I really like the blue background, but I also like this high impact background as well. But there's not. It's hard to find a real good color that would fit them both. And I don't want to go too saturated with the background because they're going to be saturated. Well, let's turn this off while we figure out. Okay, so let's go up here. Now, the shadow color. I don't know if I like the shadow here. So let's try going with like maybe a red color shadow. Let's see how red looks. Red will bring a little bit of heat into here as well. What's that? Sorry? When the right one was brighter, the other was a bit darker. Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. 100%. That'll happen, right? Since I was affecting the one side, the other will do the opposite effect. Yep, you're right. See if we can get some. Alright, let's try this here. Alright, so we're going to do levels first. Alright. Oops, wrong one. To bring up the brightness a little bit. Yeah, we'll go layer, correction layer. We're looking for color balance. Color balance, there we go. Okay. So I usually default with this one. This is my default one that I always go to. So I'll go a little bit into the blue, a little bit into the cyan, and the highlight will go into the yellow, and then we'll go into the red. And it just makes everything a little hotter. A little hotter. So I gave you a couple versions here, right? Because with the sliders here, like it's very easy to kind of get something. So check it out, right? If we just turn these two off, so this is where we're starting, and you guys will see. I'll do this one, then we'll do like a more blue one, right? I just want to try a hot one here. So you go here, and then we just put these other layers on there. It almost dramatically changes the entire image, right? Like it gives it a whole different feel. It's got the nice rich cartoon colors to it. Um, And if the values, you'll see the values will change too. The values get a little bit more punchy. That's why I didn't want to go too white and too black with things, because we need room to move, right? So if we go here, the shadows are pretty black. You turn that off, you know, they're still there. So there's this here. Actually, let me make a new layer, go color, and inking. Grab this. In April, does this character, do they glow at all? Is there any glows? Anybody got any like energy kind of stuff? And I don't do highlights really, so a lot of this stuff kind of gets the way it is. We might be able to put like a little bit of a rim light too. That's a possibility. Let's try that, I guess. I'm going to change this to an add glow. We'll pick like this darkish green. It's like a baby shit green. Something in here. Just take a quick look. The arms will glow red, but only slightly when she gets angry. I think I might have told you. You may have. Yeah, I probably just forgot. Glow red, eh? Ooh. So I'm just adding this. I don't know if I'll keep this, but we can always change the color of it and stuff like that. This adds like that. I don't know. I don't want to say a professional feel, but it gives it like a finished feel, just by having like this rim light on everything. It's like the illusion that this is cooler than it is, just because of color. We're gonna mask some of this out too. Might look weirdish, yeah, it might, but we're gonna try it anyway. I'll zoom out when I'm done with her here, so you guys can see what the hell this is looking like. This helps like overlap forms as well. As you can see, like her forearm here, now it'll pop over her the rest of her arm there. What I'm doing here as well, it's very similar to doing our shadows with cell shading, because when I mask this, you guys will see you can pretty much give it like some transparency, so it almost looks like you kind of colored it with pressure sensitivity turned on. Alright, so she's almost done here, and then I'll zoom out, show you guys here. because we'd have to add this back to the other guy too. It's only fair if we keep this. You guys, or April and stuff, everybody else, you guys can let me know if it looks good, if it looks like shite. So all her stuff is done there. Alright, so now we got that layer. I can just go ahead and put a clipping mask on it. And check this out. So if we erase the soft eraser, you see that? But what the reason why you want to use clipping masks, I've just been talking about clipping masks more and more lately. Kind of going back to when we were talking about how long have I been digitally drawing for. I literally just started really understanding, and this might sound really like it's not that hard to understand, but it can be, or it was for me. Is like I just started understanding clipping masks and using them in my work like a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and it's changed so much of like how I work. The main reason you want to use like a clipping mask, especially with something like this, is check it out. I could just delete this or disable this layer mask, and this is what's called being non-destructive. Meaning if I can always adjust my layer mask. I can delete, I can paint it back in, whatever, but it doesn't get rid of the integrity of what you just put down. So, right, like check this out. So let's just say this area right here, I'm gonna just paint over, but then I think, you know what? No, I want that back, right? I can just grab white, paint it back in, not a problem. As long as you're on the clipping mask, you can always, it's non-destructive. And it's great because what it lets you do is be a little bit more experimental, kind of like with what I'm doing here. Okay, so let me just zoom out here so you can kind of see here now. Right? So I'll turn this on and off. You guys, you know, you can let me know what you think. If you like it more, if you like it without it. April, what do you think? With, without? I'll go back and add it to the feller as well. But again, it just adds a little extra. And I'll change the color to whatever the background is, so it's like a yellowish red. Alright, I'll go ahead and I'll add it back to this guy here. I like it with, and for the other one I would think a bit more pink than purple. Sorry, I like it, and for the other one I think it's looking a bit more... No, it definitely is because of the way... So, I'll see if I can adjust in a second, but just so you understand why it's happening. Okay, if we turn off all the special stuff, see how he's purple? Right? This is a tricky thing to understand, and I'm not calling you out or anybody on this stuff, but is color is different based on the light. Okay, so the flats when we work on stuff like this, right? We got our pinks, and this does look a little bit more like a lavender. So what I'll try to do is I'll see if I can adjust it to put the purple back in there for you. But when we add like a red light source to it, you can see what's happening is it's moving it towards the light, so it's getting pinkish, right? So that's why the character is looking that way. So I'm not saying I did it right, but when you have a certain light source, like this is what I'm saying. You'll see in a second. What I'll do as well is I'm going to give you a darker one, one that feels maybe, I don't want to say at night, but something that just feels different than this one. That way you have a choice if you like the daytime or this like reddish yellow action, or if you like the darker one, right? And what you'll see is what these colors look like when they're introduced to like that light source. It's actually pretty cool. It's interesting. I've had some stuff like when I was doing Jessup and all that, and he's blue, right? And I had him in some situations where I was like, oh my god, that doesn't look very good at all. It's like he's a whole different color now. What the hell's going on? Is the guy telepathically control the severed arms, or there's a life force connection between them? That's a good question, Chris. I think Stop Sticks might have the answer. Okay. So this highlight color, we will change to like a yellow. Or maybe not. Alright. And let's just try that red glow just for kicks here. Something like that. And let's see if we can change his skin. Actually, here, let me just save this up. Then we'll do the dark one. But I want to change his color to like a purple or whatever. Oh, thought it'd crash for a second there. Whew. Alright, let's find our boy. Is it this guy? Alright, let's see if we can bring a little bit more purple. Red looks good. Okay, so there we go. We got him a little bit more purple. I know he might be a little too lavender for you. Let me know. If you want, we could try bringing it back down. Just let me know. Let's see here if we just quickly go. It's just, you see how flat that gets once he's dark like that? Once it goes back into that purple. Unless that's really what he is, you just let me know. Yeah, she's got a lot of really cool characters too. Really dig them. Okay, so while I'm waiting on that, we got this. So what I'm gonna do with this one, just like I said, is let's turn all this off real quick here, okay? And we're gonna try going into the darker spectrum with this one, okay? So that means the background most likely will have to change, but it might change with this. So the levels, I thought the levels were fine. Let's go here. We're going. Can we reset this? Okay, so the shadow is in the opposite here. So the light source is going to be like that. It's like a bluish sun, or not sun, moon, like a blue moon kind of thing. So shadows can generally get warm. This one can get a little weird, so we'll try to. This will be fun to try to figure this out. So the shadows will go this way. The highlights we're going like a midnight blue kind of thing. Let's go to the halftone here. This is where things can get. This is the interesting thing. Like I was saying before, when you start thinking about how light affects color. So the flats we've used on both of these images are the same, right? But what happens is once like a light source affects things like this, you can quickly see how it adjusts. I don't feel like going like that. Like that just starts getting too fucking nasty. The green ain't too bad. Get a little blown out this way. Let's put another one on top here. Let's do another color balance. So I'm gonna try something else here. Let's flatten the entire thing. Just give me a second so my computer dies. Okay, we're gonna copy that. Sorry, select the whole thing, copy. We're gonna undo the flatting. And what we'll do is we're gonna paste it on. And this is just something I like to do. Sometimes this looks nice, sometimes it doesn't. We're gonna Gaussian blur this beige. Alright, and then we can just gives it like this. See that look? Some people might not dig it. Screen overlay. Bring the opacity down a little bit. Just gives it like this glow, you know? I'm not saying it's great or amazing, but see this here. Don't mind that actually. It's kind of got this weird getting like an anime vibe from it or something, like a cartoon or something like that. There's something here. Anyway, so there's this one here. We'll save this one up. And then I'm just going to throw my paper texture on there just for shits. Thanks, Sharon. I don't even know if it's going to look good with the paper texture. I just like it, right? Because I brought it in from Jessup. So everything, it's always got that cool little feel to me. Okay. Let's go to Spider-Gwen comics. And then we're about to wrap this up. April, I'll send this to you over Facebook. You let me know which one you like, or if you don't like any of them, you want something changed to. That is all good. Issue 2, save for web, colors. I want that one. Wait, I can't. One sec. I can't see what the hell I'm looking at. There we go. And then edit, transform, flip horizontal. We'll just scooty scoot scoot. See if we can get rid of that seam a little bit. No? No? You're going to get a seam no matter what? Okay. Alright, so I have that. And then, what the hell am I doing? Oh, turn that off. It's kind of hard to see. It's up close, you can see it. I don't know. Oh yeah, this is Jessup King issue 2. It's on hiatus right now. I'm doing a project right now called Power Pickle. It's a superhero themed thing. It won't be colored or anything, but you guys will see that a little bit later. But Jessup issue 2, I hope to get back to as well once that one's done. Anyway, okay, well, thank you, everybody. I do appreciate you guys popping in. If you guys are watching on YouTube, leave a comment below. Let me know, which one do you prefer? Do you got one that you like over the other? Do you think they all suck? Let's put the paper texture on there, too. Just lightens it up a little bit, too. Gives a little bit of some juice. I'm actually before I go, sorry to start saying goodbye to you guys and then just stopping here. I want to try adding that glow to this one as well. Just to see. I don't mind it. It's got a look to it, but it's not for everybody. It doesn't take any time to really do. Let's copy this layer and go back just so you guys can see it, so you guys can add it to your own thing as well. So you just put it here, you just paste it on top of all the layers you're doing, and just go filter. So it's all a flattened layer, right? Then go filter, Gaussian blur. Doesn't matter if you're using Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint. And you want to blur it a whole bunch, but not too much. You just want to get like the edges like that. So because what it's going to do is make a soft glow around everything, right? So you just do this one, right? And then you just go mode, you just go to screen. And it makes it more like an animated cartoon kind of feel. And then I'm just lowering the opacity just a little bit. And then we'll put everything on there. So it has a feel to it. I don't know. You know, its own thing. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys' time. Thanks for watching. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm actually leaving this time. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, let me know what you thought. Leave a comment below, all that cool stuff. And until next time, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I will talk to you then. Bye-bye.